Hey, horror fans, David Howard Thornton here, Mr. Art the Clown himself, and you're listening to the Movie Rage Show.
It's time for the movie rating. Tonight's victim is actor David Howard Thornton, that is played in Terrifier as Art the Clown. What's up?
Hey, how you doing, man?
Busy as always. How you been doing? What's going on with you? Got any new projects that you are allowed to talk to us?
Yeah, well, we're about to start filming Terrifier 2 this fall, so, I mean, that's probably what's taking up most of my time right now. We're doing a lot of pre-production stuff. We just finished our Indiegogo campaign where we raised over, I think, 400,000, not 400,000, but 400% of our initial goal, which was fantastic. We did not expect that. We've raised over, like, I think, $200,000. So
wow.
That's helping us out a lot because we're still an independent, low-budget film, so every little dime is helping us. So I'm very, very grateful to our fan base for that.
Man, that ain't no dimes, dude. That looked like someone just broke a bunch of payphones in the area.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that is really awesome, man, that you're getting this out there. Like, so many people has contributed to your film, and that's really awesome to see all these fans unite because they want to see quality films as compared to these studio films. Yeah. And no, I'm not saying studio films, the big ones that are not making quality films. I'm saying that they're not exactly putting their effort as what they used to anymore, in my opinion. Look at these independent films, man. They're putting all their heart, effort, soul into this, and they want the money to the best entertainment film that you possibly can imagine.
Yep, I totally agree. It just seems like most of the films that are being made now, like the mainstream ones, are all reboots or something like that, or just sequel upon sequel upon sequel. Like, nothing new being thrown out there, especially in the slasher genre. It's just like the ones that are out there, they're kind of tame. And it's like, no, we don't want to be tamed. we want to go full throttle.
Yeah, a lot of these films are being tamed to where we're limited to what kind of content they need to go to, or how much of a story should be told, so they can divide it up into another sequel or whatever, or just simply just doesn't work out at all. And just, do you think it's about time for independent filmmakers to really step up and then almost take over? Oh, I'm not saying they will, but entirely. But you think they should? Oh,
I think so. I mean, that's where all the classic horror franchises started out, basically. Anyway, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Friday the 13th, Halloween, all that kind of stuff, all started like independent films. In the independent world, the creators have more freedom to do what they want to because they don't have a studio breathing down their necks, telling them you can't do this, you can't do this, but we want you to do this and this and this. When you're an independent film like us, we can do what we want to do, which is very nice because we come up with some crazy ideas ourselves. So we're like, let's do this. Why not?
Creative freedom to show us something different and new outside the realm of whatever the studio wants in terms of what's going to be sold, so to speak.
Yeah, especially when it comes to the gore that we have in our films. I think we're not being restrained in the way like a lot of films restrain other franchises, because I think they're more trying to go more PG-13 ratings now instead of R-rated ratings for horror films, which is unfortunate. I'm like, the horror should be pushing that envelope at all times, what they can get away with. I think that's where you get some really good creative stuff that way, when you're not being limited.
Yeah, when they do limit it to that point, they're like, oh, well, okay, and then they got to worry about other markets, they got to worry about international, they got to worry about if it's going to go to possible TV, other networks on TV, to movie channels and so forth. I'm like, well, if you limit that, you limit the artists themselves.
Exactly. And that's something we haven't wanted to do. We had one studio that approached us for the sequel, and I think they were wanting to not really fund us the way we want to be funded, but they also wanted more control over us too. I was like, no. So if you're going to give us the money, we also want the freedom to do what we're going to do, because what we want to do is going to give you the better film anyway.
Oh, definitely. And when it comes to performing a monstrous character like you have, do you think the performing artist must make an extra effort into making it more better and not be labeled as a limited expression artist?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Now, I understand like playing as Art the Clown can be a very, very challenging, very dark type of character, but having to bounce from this character, and then if you happen to play another character like this, it's almost kind of hard to convince the audience that you are capable to express a different kind of art through these type of characters, like you would if you were Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers and so forth.
Yeah, you have to be able to differentiate yourself from this is art, but if I play another character, I want them to be completely different from art. People aren't going, oh, well, that's art too. Art 2.0 or whatever. And it's like, no. You look like what Kane Hodder has done between Jason and also Victor Crowley. Two totally different characters there.
It's not going to be like tremendously hard to convince the studios or other companies involved to just play another character like this, but when it comes to the audience, though, it's a big part because, okay, here you are wearing a mask, or here you are wearing, messed up face paint or whatever it is that you have to wear, and you're trampling on, you're being creepy, you're being scary, but there's got to be more to it. You have to keep it up.
Yeah. And I think that's like one of my problems, like a lot of the mainstream horror films right now. It's like their villains are all basically the same type of villain over and over again. Some guy in a mask, and the person doesn't talk, or they might hum or something like that, and they just do a little head tilt to the side or something like that, and that's about it. There's no real good character development or any good character behind that character. It's just like, it's just another guy in a mask. I mean, art could have been that way too. It could have just been a guy wearing a mask and stuff like that too, but like with the makeup, it allowed me to have more of a free range of expression with emotion, so I was able to do more with the character than just being, a silent killer with a mask on. It's nice. It's very freeing in that way.
Oh, definitely, because even when you are wearing a mask, it does provide you creative freedom in the way, and also it seems like that is kind of like a lost art on its own, playing these type of characters, because you're not getting the creative flow that you want. I mean, you can do whatever you want with this character wearing this mask or whatever. Make it your own, even if you are playing as Michael Myers or anything else related.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's like the trappings that so many of these people have gotten in some of these other films. It's just like, oh, well, they haven't really tried to develop a character behind that role, like a real good personality behind that character, I guess you could say. So many of these villains haven't really stood out in the past 20 years or so because they're so generic.
Yes, they're flat, and they're not really that interesting, and they just keep repeating the same thing over and over from one film to another. It's like, okay, yeah, they look cool. Sure, yeah, they can have some brutal kills, but they still do the same thing. Same mannerisms, same, they don't even need a story, and I think that's kind of laziness. That's kind of lazy writing. It's kind of lazy. Even acting, even on the actor part, even if they are told to do it.
Exactly. A good example of that was like the movie Hellfest, which I saw last fall with Damon Maffei and L.C. Holt. While we're down at a convention, we're like, hey, let's go see this fun content. It's got to be good. And like the villain in that was just a cookie cutter villain wearing a mask, and he would walk around and hum "Pop Goes the Weasel," and that was about all you got of his character. Other than like, well, he was boring though. He didn't really do anything special that made him stand out that much, and I found that to be irritating because like the premise of the film was a cool premise, a slasher that takes place in a haunted house amusement park. There's so much you could have done with that, and I felt like they dropped the ball on it. They could have added some more of a characteristic, more of a personality behind this character, made him this very sadistic, fun character, but they just were like, oh, we'll just slap a mask on a guy and put him in a hoodie.
Yeah, because to me, like, okay, a fun house. Okay, yeah, you can play with so much with that. Carol themselves, you attach it to them, okay, then you're going to give the audience already the obvious idea what this character is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they basically could have slapped any villain into that movie, and it would have still been like the same movie in that regard, because it was just like, oh, well, there's nothing special about this character. He just seemed like a blank slate. It was like, okay, you could just put anybody into this. It's not like, you can't really slap someone else into a Freddy Krueger movie. That's just Freddy. It just looks like there's that personality there. It's like it wouldn't be the same type of movie in that regard.
But you having to step into a dark character like this, you'd be limited being in this type of dark moment, or do you think you should kind of like split it in half to not lose possibility of control of yourself?
I still try to do a lot of voiceover work and stuff like that as well. So I don't want to limit myself just doing this type of character and stuff like that, because much fun art is to play. You're doing so much violence and stuff like that. It's fun to get away from that for a little while and do something fun and happy.
But having to step into, let's say, as art, and this this is a very crazy, very dark character, but having to stay in this character, do you think it should be a limited time to be within this character without losing yourself mentality wise? Do you think that'd be best, or do you think just go straight forward and then find a way to crawl yourself out of this?
Yeah, I don't really have to worry about getting into too much of the mentality of the character and it's sticking that way. I've always been able to like turn a character on and off. I'm not one of those method actors where that it just stays and lingers with me. I can easily distance myself from my work.
Yeah, it can be very difficult though, because like this is like especially if you're going further and further into this character, or let's say the sequel's coming up for Terrifier. How do you going to really re-enter this and then make it different on your own?
Oh, we got some fun ideas. I can't really say what, but I'm always sitting here just like, thinking of things to do in scenes, just to add a little bit more character to him and stuff like that. So, and some of that also just happens while I'm on set too. It's in the moment. We'll see.
Now, when you have to step into a different character, do you almost have to basically recreate yourself each and every single time?
No. Like I said earlier, I was like, I'm not really that type of actor where I have to like do that kind of stuff. I can just easily, especially once I'm in the makeup and costume, I can go right into character if they need me to. So I'm like, as soon as they say, rolling, I can boom go into the mentality, and then when they say cut, boom, back to myself, joking around, even though I'm still in the makeup and everything. So yeah, I'm not like Daniel Day-Lewis type of actor where I have to be like everybody treat me as the character the whole entire time. I know some other people do that too, where they're on set where they don't even associate with the rest of the cast just to build that tension up. I'm like, that's just me. But if someone needs that from me, then I'll give that to them too. It's like, okay, you don't want to talk to me because you want to keep that distance. Okay, fine, whatever works for you. But for me, I can turn it on and off easily.
When other actors are doing that toward you, at least in your experience, is it good for you, or do you think it actually helps you in terms of being in the character?
I haven't really had anybody's art do that with me. I mean, while we were doing Terrifier, everybody was just, as soon as they cut, we're all just joking around with each other and having fun and stuff like that. So I didn't really experience that with Terrifier, but I've done some shows in the past where I had some actors that needed different things from me. So like when I did Jesus Christ Superstar years ago, the guy I played Annis in that, and my Caiaphas, just so he could stay in character, needed me to be in character with him while we were off stage and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, sure. And whatever worked for him to help him get to where he needed to be, I gave that to him. I mean, I didn't need it myself, but it was good for him. I'm giving, the other actor what they need just to get to where they need to be.
Yeah, it just seems like it's kind of all on the fence type of balance in a way, because it helps them, but at the same time, it might not help you at the same time, depending on your your taste of style of acting. That's fine, but sometimes if it's a dramatic role, like maybe it might conflict a little bit.
Yeah, I guess it just depends on the role.
Yeah, because everybody on set, they each one has their own vibes, so to speak, and method acting is not terrible. I mean, some actors are pretty outspoken about it. Like they kind of detest it in some ways. I'm like, I don't think it's a terrible thing, but I mean that's your thing. So.
Oh no, yeah, it's just not my thing. I don't feel like I need to do it. I can just go into the character when I need. I usually have an idea of who the character is in my head. And like how I look at art, I look at him as the bastard child of Freddy Krueger and Harpo Marx, or like an evil version of Mr. Bean. So I keep that in my head, and I know who he is as a character and stuff like that. And so I'm like, as long as I have that in my head, I can turn on the character when I need to.
Do you think simple is really one of the best things to go?
From actor to actor, it's whatever. Everybody's different. So I'm like, that's what works for me, but, it might not work for someone else.
Yeah, sometimes even just going a simple route, just being simple. Just, do your thing, get off. Sometimes simple is like the best thing ever. Mm-hmm. Now, how do you feel like with Terrifier? It's been getting mixed reviews from some people who love this movie, and there are people who are like type of mentality. What do you think about having to go forward with another sequel? How do you think this is going to pan out? Do you think this is going to be top notch, or do you think it might have the same reaction?
I think the sequel would get a better reaction from those naysayers. We've heard some of the complaints. Like I know, like one of the bigger complaints, some people say, "Oh, there's no real plot to it." I'm like, I know. We knew that, but like a lot of slashers, especially from these days, had no plot to it. It was just like, okay, these teenagers or young college students come across a killer and they're just trying to survive, and that was the plot. But we've heard those complaints, and we I think we've addressed a lot of them going into the sequel. So I'm pretty confident. This is a great script. I think Damien outdid himself writing this script. It's definitely got more of a narrative element to it this time around too.
Yeah, and some companies will kind of argue about that when their film is not getting as good reviews as they kind of feel like. But my opinion is, they really shouldn't expect those kind of reviews, like top-notch, awesome type thing. Because, of course, you're not going to make everybody happy, but at the same time, you should be humble what you do. But I consider, like, the first film that you're doing is a testing plane. It's a testing. It's almost like a pilot. You see where it's going to go. How's it going to pan out with everybody else?
Yeah, that's how I feel about it, too. It's just like, and I think the thing everybody, even the naysayers, were saying about the film, they love the character of Art. They love that character. So I was like, as long as we just keep the character where he is and keep true to that character, I think will be good. Future films and stuff like that. It's like we just keep who Art is the same and not pull back from what we were doing, like with like the gore and stuff like that. I still having fun with the characters. I think we'll be fine.
There's something different about him. There's something more unique about him. And as far as the environment around him, okay, maybe not so great in terms of where he's actually heading. But with Terrifier, what can we expect for this sequel that you are allowed to? I mean, is anybody else involved in this that you are allowed to say, or can you speak up just a tad of what you can do?
I mean, I can say a little bit. Like I said, it's going to have more of a narrative element this time. We're setting up, I guess you would say, the real protagonist of the series now, I would say, in this. Like, we're setting up our Laurie Strode, I would say. So we're bringing that character in and her little brother and stuff like that. So I think they're going to be a lot of fun. And, this is going to be bigger in scale, too. It's not going to just be all consolidated to just one building. It's going to happen in multiple locations. And so it's going to be bigger. Definitely going to be bigger this time around.
Go ahead and plug in any websites or anything that we can check out, especially when it comes to Terrifier 1 and anything else that we can check out right now.
Terrifier 1, of course, you can find on Netflix and stuff like that. So we have our Twitter account and our Instagram account, too. I think, like, Terrifier and Terrifier 2 official pages and stuff like that. I think it's still, I don't know that the address is right off the top of my head because I don't manage those. For myself, we're in pre-production right now, building the sets, about to do casting and everything like that. We hope to start filming in late October. So we're aiming to release the film next fall, if all goes according to plan. You never know. That's our hope. Other than that, I'm still working on a web series called Nightwing Escalation, which is on a fan-made series set in the Batman universe, and it's on YouTube. So you can catch me playing the Joker on that. We've still got a few more things to film on there because we're going to the finale right now. So exciting times there, too. It's like it's just all, so this fan-made is one of those things that we film whenever all of us can get together and film. And we've had a few delays in filming because our Barbara Gordon has gotten pregnant twice. So we're like, got to have the baby. We'll get there with that, too. But that's a lot of fun. And, I got some other irons in the fire right now that I can't talk about yet. But, some exciting times coming up.
That is actor David Howard Thornton.